Hey everybody, this is James, and today we're going to take a look at my game Scoot Kaboom and the Tomb of Doom, but not just my game. We're going to watch someone playing through the game in an awesome speed run and beating the hardest mode of the game, which is the endurance mode, which you have to get through the entire thing without dying, and also collecting all the secret gems along the way too. It's pretty cool. I haven't watched the actual video myself. I'm just impressed that somebody did it in such a short space of time, about 50 minutes or so. I think my best time completing the game is about 35 or 40 minutes, so I'm pretty impressed that they got through this, so I'm really interested to see how they get through the game and how they do that stuff, and it'll be fun to kind of take a look and see what kind of shortcuts they're taking along the way. So let's go ahead and dive into the footage itself. So here we go, they're going. This is the start of the run. This is from Kickathon on YouTube. I'll put a link to their channel in the description down below if you want to go check out the original user and let them know how cool they are completing the game. So you can see they're getting the first little gem there, and they're pretty quick running through this stuff. So this first kind of area here is timed so that you can actually run through this section basically as far as there without having to stop. There's a lot of areas in the game that are tried to be timed like that. If you're quick, you can get through them. But if you're a little bit slower, then you're going to be held up a little bit longer than you want. But they're already doing pretty well. So there are extra aids in the game to, for example, if you can turn on invincible mode to get through this stuff, and you can turn on things like double jumps and things like that. But they're not using any of that stuff. This is just the most basic, hardest version of the game, basically, to get through as you can. And they're already flying through. They're into the second area in like less than a minute or so, which is pretty impressive. That was really quick. That was quick jumps there. I'm impressed that they could make it up that fast. I don't think half of these jumps I couldn't do this fast, which is the interesting thing about this. I don't think there's any like crazy skips through the level or anything, any of those kind of strange speedrun tactics. I haven't seen anything like that yet, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't watched through the entire run, so who really knows? See, these things here, for example, they're timed so that you can fit through them nicely if you pay attention to what's going on. I can't imagine how many tries this took. As you can see, the little splats around the area, they all indicate that that's where they died on a previous attempt at this run. So as you can imagine, if you get to the very end and find a splat there, that would be fairly frustrating to get that far through the game. They're doing pretty well though. Like I can see all the little tricks that I learned through development of how to get through certain areas that I haven't necessarily all strung together myself. Look at this, just straight in here. No pausing, no waiting, they know exactly what they're doing. It's madness. One thing about this game is that everything is on a very strict timer as things go, so there's no... Things operate between 1 and 2 seconds maybe for certain elements. Some of those spin saws take a bit long, but everything's on a particular timer routine. The whole game works off a specific timer that's always ticking away in the background to make sure everything stays in sync. So it shouldn't matter how far you get into the level, things won't get desynced along the way. Also, there's a special thing, as you can see, to make all these gems follow you along. So in the normal playthrough of the game, when you collect a gem, you bring it to a checkpoint, and then that means that the gem gets like officially collected. But if you die, you lose any gems that you've collected without reaching a checkpoint. But obviously, because in this version, there is no checkpoints, you've got to make it all the way to the end to get a checkpoint. Or there's not even a checkpoint at the end, there's a special, just a cash-in point, basically, for the gems along the way. This little gem in here is a tricky one. Oh, that was very good. That's a hard one to get. That's one where a lot of people die. I have watched a good few people play through the game, in general. Wow, that was quick, that was quick. So this is a very fast section in general when you get going, and I can see they're really like, they're not waiting, they're waiting till the very first moment when they can go, and then they're going straight away, which is impressive, because normally I'll sit there and wait a couple of cycles just so I'm like, oh, I know I'm definitely have the timing down now. But yeah, this is quite interesting to see. So they're about a third of the way through the level now, I'd say. Let's just check the time. About 4 minutes in. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So the best time I can actually make through the entire dungeon with invincibility turned on, so you're not getting killed by any of the spikes, I think is about 8 or maybe 9 minutes, but 8.5 minutes, let's say. Whoa, that was a good jump. So I'm really impressed that they're getting a sub 15 minute time with having to wait to avoid the different death traps and things like that. So right here, all these blue blocks are on a particular timer, so every second they kind of switch to being on or off. And you can, oh yeah, there you go. So you can jump over certain ones if you time it well. You have to be on the right schedule with these ones, because these ones here are on a slightly different timer. They're on off for 1 second and on for 2 seconds, and same with the spikes. So they're on a repeating loop, but they're not necessarily in the exact same sync every single second. And that's kind of one of those little abstract kind of not abstract, but alternative kind of level design elements that you kind of throw in to kind of mix it up with players and make sure you're not just falling in the same rhythm over and over and over again. And that's part of the fun of level design in general, is to like design these levels and see which ways you can challenge players in interesting and hopefully fun ways along the way. This can be a little tricky one for players here. You have to jump there on that one and you just go straight over, and no problem for this guy, obviously. Just, oh, I'll just fly through this stuff, don't worry about it. Excuse me. Let's see what's going on here. So again, this is an area that actually looks kind of much harder than it is, but it's actually it's not too bad. It's just you kind of drop in and there you go. You just kind of fly through there. So this is a part of when I was designing this mode in particular, was keeping track of where the gems would kind of get in your way. They're not too bad. I was hopeful that they wouldn't be too bad. The idea is that they stay above the ground, but they never obscure the player or anything like that. So even if you get them bunched up while you're climbing up, this one is impressive because the shifting little conveyor belts here to change your speed. Oh, that was good. He probably could have shaved off like half a second there by going straight ahead, but it's probably better to be safe than sorry. I'm impressed there's no splats there, so obviously they haven't had to deal with dying at that point. This is just some nice big jumps here. Again, this one is pretty simple and straightforward. Oh, you don't want to get caught by that guy. That was good timing to get there just as the as the spin saw kind of reached its end. It's pretty good. So these fireballs are all timed, so you can go. Oh, look at that! He stood on top of the fireball launcher, and that didn't kill him. I didn't even realize that would happen. That's pro strats right there. Oh, that was good. Straight in there. I'm just impressed that they keep getting straight into all these situations and getting all the stuff out of it, or getting through these little sections without even pausing for a breath along the way. It's kind of crazy to see. You can jump over that. There we go. Just magically avoided that fireball. Impressed by that one. So generally speaking, the hitboxes and stuff are very generous. So the hitboxes on the actual fireballs are quite small, and on the player are quite small. So that leads to situations where hopefully you can avoid getting hit, even if it looks like you might get hit. That's one of those little game design tricks that it's more fun for players if hitboxes are smaller, so that it looks like they might have got caught, but they got away with it, and it gives you a really good feeling as a player. Whereas if your hitboxes are too big, or even, to be honest, the exact right size of the player, he's just zooming through this teleport section, but if they're the exact same size as the player even, that can lead to situations where players think, oh, I thought I got away with that, but I actually got killed for some reason. You never want to do that. You'd rather be generous to your players and let them feel like they got away with something, and that kind of makes it feel more fun. But that does also open it up for people who speedrun games to go, oh, I can exploit this. So that little puzzle, that little bit there, you're supposed to stand on the left one and then move back to the right. That's what most people do, but he managed to just stand on... Wow, one jump across that. That's impressive. He managed to just stand on the left and get it. Yeah, one jump across that little spike section down below is actually incredibly impressive. It normally takes me like 7 or 8 jumps to get through. Another one jump across. That's crazy. Avoiding that fireball again by hugging the wall. There's a lot of that going on, which is pretty good. Avoiding all these guys. Now you might be thinking, does he actually have the invincibility mode turned on with the fireballs? But just prior to this run starting, I don't know if I show it in the video or I start talking too late. It does show him actually dying and then starting this actual run. So he's not invincible. He's definitely dying along the way here. are definitely in threat of dying along the way, but he's definitely not going to die because it's some amazing, crazy run through the game. Just flying along, flying through all this stuff. Perfect timing with that fireball. The fireball goes off every second time the lasers go off, so it's good time to get in there on the very first try again to get through that stuff. Look at the big massive trail of gems they've built up at this point. There's 23 gems in the level. I don't know how many they would have at this point, probably 16 or 17. But it's impressive watching them all trail along behind the player. Obviously I tested all this stuff to make sure it works, but it's just fun to look at it snaking away behind the player, and they kind of follow. You can see how it kind of follows along. Each one follows the next one with a bit of a kind of offset along the way. This can be another tricky section to work out the timing of it, but as you can see here, they're just, yep, they have the timing nailed. Again, I couldn't get through it that fast. I'm pretty impressed by everything that's going on here. Okay, so you gotta wait for the timing here for that guy to get out of the way and then be able to jump over. There you go, just like that. Again, just enough space to hug along the wall, so if you're, is again being generous to the player but allowing it so that you can kind of get away with doing that kind of stuff. So the whole philosophy of this game is there shouldn't be anything that will surprise you and kill you. As long as you pay attention to what's going on around you, you're able to see everything that's happening in the game. And everything in the game is on a timer, like I said. So generally speaking, most stuff is on a 1 second timer, so spikes go in and out every 1 second. Apart from specific areas where it's very obvious that that's not going on, generally speaking, they all go in and out within every 1 second. These little orange spikes, or well, they have orange bottoms on them, they're reactionary spikes, so they only activate after you go over them. So there's about a quarter of a second, I think, before they appear, so you have time to run across them before they appear, but it's basically a way to make you keep moving across certain areas so you can't stop and wait. So for example, up here you can see you have to keep going because those spikes are going to come get you. Up here is a couple of hidden gems that are kind of hard to spot sometimes. So there's one right in there. This way you have to jump up and collect that, and they already collected the other hidden gem. It was back a little bit further. I kind of missed pointing that out, but this is an interesting, this is one of my favorite areas to actually design in the game, was this kind of dark area, so that you could see, the idea was to have the player coming in and out of these little dark zones along the way, which was a lot of fun to do, and I think it worked pretty well. There's a lot of areas in this game where actually like, oh, I wish I had more space in the game to play around with some of these concepts, because there's a lot of stuff. If I had more time, it would be fun to design a whole second level with a lot of the mechanics, but that would be, it would somewhat take away from the game design. I think the whole challenge is to have this one level that you have to make your way through, but it's fun to kind of think about that kind of stuff. Maybe a potential Skookaboom 2, who knows? But probably not. I think this is kind of a bit of a standalone game. A lot of fun though. It was a lot of fun to work on this game in general. Maybe one day we'll do a little delve into the actual code behind the game. Or maybe not the code, but the Unity project maybe more so. If people are interested in that, you can take a look and see what exactly is going on in the game and how everything works. I can't believe they're... So this is the second last area of the game now that they're at. I'm amazed at the speed they've made it through all of this stuff. This area isn't actually too hard. It's kind of, it looks more threatening than it is. It's kind of hard. Again, it's all just about timing really, but there's huge gaps there. Like you see these arms swinging around, it looks scary, but there's actually big gaps where you can just jump down and take your time walking through these areas. So the bottom bit down here can sometimes be a bit tricky because there's a certain jump towards the end here that can definitely catch you out if you're not careful. But it looks like they haven't even really died here too much. You can see a bit of trepidation though, because they had to find the exact right point to jump. And then this is the final area where gravity is upside down. You switch between normal gravity and upside down gravity. This area isn't actually too hard. It's just kind of messes with your head a little bit being upside down. That's the only problem with it. Once you wrap your head around being upside down, it's actually not too hard. This one is a fairly tight time. There you go. He didn't quite make the gem, but he had to get back in time to get out. Oh, didn't quite make it that time either. It's really tight. It's definitely doable, obviously. You'll see that in a second, I'm sure. There we go. He grabbed it, just about made it out before the fireball. So it's meant to be a really tight timing window on that one, but really good. good to see that they couldn't just do it all in the tightest time possible. It's good to see the challenge of trying to get through it. Okay, getting very close to the end now. Just running through that stuff. So the little green tipped spikes at the bottom here are the kind of reactionary ones that you have to avoid. You can't go back as you go. Oh, he just about made it over that one. Will he go here? Oh no, took a little pause. Have to wait again. There we go, waiting for the right cycle of things to come. Last little bit here. You can see, place to cash them all in. There we go. Wow, some pretty impressive stuff. 14 minutes and 55 seconds. There you go, some achievements and unlocks along the way. Of course, you unlock more characters with everything you do in the game, basically. But that's really impressive. So they died 12 times on that attempt to get that final playthrough. That's awesome. That's really cool. I'm crazy impressed at some of the stuff happening there and the speed that they could make it through everything. It's surprising how well that all went. Really cool to watch though. I really enjoyed that. If you want to see some more Skookaboom stuff, I'll have some more stuff coming soon, hopefully. And of course, there'll be some new tutorials coming along the way very soon, and other cool Unity things to come. If you want to go and, as I said, go check out their channel, Kickathon. The link will be down below. You can go give them a subscribe and let them know that they did an awesome job playing through the game. And I'll be back soon with more gaming goodness very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.